Hey everybody, I am thrilled today to welcome two very important, I think Frank says on his LinkedIn page, serial entrepreneurs. So you've got Jake Mizrahi and Frank Gaspari. Jake is with Oval Partners. Frank, of course, I think is famous just about all around the world in our business with Flex Group Technologies. So welcome, gentlemen. We're very honored to have you.
Thanks, Mike. Good to be here.
So we're going to have a little bit of fun here, guys. And I know, sometimes people don't like to have fun on these things because, you could get carried away. But we're going to keep you on point. I'd like to ask a couple of simple questions for the audience. And then we'll get into more of the meat of this because I think there's some very important information you have and can share and help our industry grow. So some simple questions. How did you two meet as private equity partner and Flex?
Yeah, I'll start it off, Jake, and then you can take it from there. So, back in the middle of 2015, me and the team of Flex had built it up to just under 50 million bucks, and wanted to look to bring in private equity, to build it out, right? To build it out through acquisition, in addition to organic growth. And so I met with, a handful of really good equity companies, and just didn't get a good feel. So, got a good buddy in Chicago that I've known for years, Jim Serkleski, CEO of Clover. Jimmy and I grew up in the business in Chicago, and Jim had brought in private equity. Jake can tell you early on, and Jim says, "Hey, you got to meet this guy." He's like, what he said, and I don't want to, make Jake blush, but he says this guy's the Michael Jordan of private equity, and he's just leaving a big firm where he's a principal at. He's starting his own firm. You got to talk to this guy. And then Jake and I met, and it was just like, 6 months later we did a deal.
So it's kind of interesting. You, me, Jim Serkleski were Chicago kids. Unfortunately for Jim, he went to Florida, and we came to Arizona, the better choice, right? But it's great to see, that kind of friendship lead to some big success. And Frank, when did you start Flex? Was it 05, 06, around there?
Yeah, I started it a month after I left Global. I mean, I really was cooking this idea up in my head. The second business that Global bought to me was a regional managed print company. And Michael, I just saw a massive, wide open opportunity for an independent that was nimble to build out a national infrastructure, to service a way underserviced market, right, in national managed print. And my first training class was October 17th, 2005, and 5 employees, no customers, and we just went wild.
Well, I actually remember those early days when you first came out to Phoenix. We knew each other in Chicago, so I was pretty impressed that you just turned on a dime out of Chicago and came out here. So, and Jake, just an FYI, Frank actually sent my daughter on a career into copiers and printers, totally destroying my hopes and expectations for brain surgeon. So I appreciate that, Frank. So Jenna had a great time. She said say hello, by the way. So. Jake, when you looked at, I think you're a co-founder, right, with Oval Partners?
Yes.
So where in your portfolio was this as an investment? Was it round one? Where were you?
This was actually our first investment. So we were at a large private equity firm in San Francisco, which is where Jim and I work together. We had a lot of experience over the years investing in kind of medium-sized businesses and working with the founders to grow them dramatically. And, we look for companies like that. So we look for companies that are in very large markets, that are fragmented markets, and we think that we can work with the team to scale them, from, millions of dollars to hundreds of millions of dollars, hopefully businesses. And, we had kind of that experience with Jim and his business, and we kind of look for other businesses like that where, we can continue to do it. And so this was actually our first investment. The introduction happened not long after I left, my previous firm. And so it was actually great timing. And we were able to get it done, pretty quickly. And we saw the opportunity. I mean, Frank was the one. He's kind of the Pied Piper, and he sold us on the opportunity. But we kind of understood the market because of our experience in the industry. We had a lot of experience scaling companies, and so we thought we can really work with Frank and scale this business up.
That's incredible. Your first investment, and now you fast forward, and I'll ask you probably in a less than graceful way, but has it panned out for you the way you expected?
It has. What's amazing is that I remember Frank had a kickoff meeting like soon after we closed the deal, and we talked about what our goals were. And Frank was like, just let's make sure that we set an aggressive goal, for the team so that they understand how exciting the upside opportunity is. And I forgot exactly what we said, but I think we were going to get to be a $500 million company eventually, and we're almost there. And so I think what I would say is that even with all of the crazy stuff that's happened in the world over the last few years, we've still been able to do what we set out to do, and so we feel great about it.
So that kind of brings me to question 2, 3, and 4 pretty quick. So your first investment really pans out, and Frank and Jake, obviously there's a lot of political concerns, COVID concerns, hiring people concerns, and there's a lot of chatter out there about the industry. How does it migrate? How does it with the digital transformation, what does it look like for these businesses? And so, Frank, if you could talk a little bit about your run rate right now, and where are you, and what are you thinking? And then I'd like to turn that back to Jake a little bit and ask both of you, are you really still bullish on this industry? So, Frank, if you don't mind, I'll come back to you.
Yeah, so I would say that, certainly I wouldn't be on this podcast with you today and have Jake be on if I wasn't bullish. And I'm bullish based upon, not the noise, and not just about the noise in our space, but the noise. Anyone who knows me knows I don't watch much TV. I don't watch the news because it's all negative news and it's all noise. I'm really bullish, Michael, because of the facts of what's going on in my business, in our space, based upon, where we're at today. I believe, number one, the business today will do this year $450 million in revenue, and that's without any additional acquisitions. In the event we acquire anybody between now and the end of the year, it'll be more than that. Right now through April, it's funny. I saw the numbers earlier. Through April, we're up 18% year over year, right? So people in the industry, people outside of the industry, they could say whatever they want about print. We're growing in a very material way because we're focused on our business, because there's massive organic growth opportunities in our space. Here's a fact. This is not Frank Gaspari making stuff up. I'm a student of this business. Print is declining at whatever, 3, 4, 5, 6%. A fact, Michael, is that managed print is growing at 6%. In the white space, in managed print, there's 62% white space, right? And hey, we've got a lot of great competitors, right? But when it comes to any enterprise managed print, with very, very diverse portfolios of products and needs and whatnot, I happen to think that we are the undisputed king and the undisputed champion in that business, and we're growing, and we've done a significant and a material great job of cross-selling enterprise, not just down the street, but mid-size and enterprise new business to our portfolio of companies. A lot of the companies that we acquired, great companies, MFP companies, but we've introduced our platform, and our platform is a lot more than just servicing printers and providing them whatever. But over the last few years, the business, the organic growth that we've gotten through the acquired companies selling our managed print services on an enterprise level, it's been significant, and it's driven the organic growth. Last year we had organic growth of $37 million, and this year, like I said, we're up 18%. So, hey, everyone's got an opinion. There's a lot of smart people out there, and that's great. My opinion is based upon the facts that our people are driving, period, the end. And I don't know what it makes us. At 450 million, it makes us, we got X percent of the market, single digits, right?
Yeah.
So we could quadruple. I mean, and that's why I'm, authentically excited about the business. And, I don't know, Jake.
Yeah, I mean, we've invested in a lot of businesses through the years where uh, people have thought that they were very mature markets. I think, what we saw about this market is that it's a huge market. And so the numbers that we saw was that it's something like a $40 billion market in North America. And, even the biggest players, are not very large parts of the market. And so it's a very fragmented market. If you do a good job of building your business, you can grow organically in a market like that. And I think Frank is amazing at that. He's done a great job of scaling his business. He's an expert in scaling sales and marketing infrastructure, and that's reflected in the performance of FlexPrint. The other thing that I would say is that FlexPrint, our customer base is kind of north of 20,000 strong. It's a very loyal customer base. We look at, before we made the investment and before we buy any business, we look at kind of what customers think of their service provider. And FlexPrint was a service provider that customers, loved working with. And we're extremely loyal to kind of 95+% customer retention on an annual basis. And, we think that there's an opportunity to leverage that customer base and continue to do it. If you look at our acquisitions, we've done, FlexPrint was not traditional. It wasn't a traditional copier dealer, but it was a managed print services company. Frank's been very successful in selling managed print services into the copier dealer customer installed base. And I think that the reason he's able to do that is that they're loyal customers and they do a good job of providing the service. And so I think that kind of serves as a basis for, continuing to leverage that customer base and grow.
It's interesting and listening to you both speak. And I remember when Frank started out here in Phoenix, the one thing that struck me immediately was that Frank had a very clear vision about not bringing old school, not bringing the baggage of the old core model into your new business. I mean, you were focused on Enterprise MPS from the very beginning, right, Frank?
Yeah, correct. Correct. I saw an opportunity there, and still, the white space back there was 95%. But when you think about, and I think that to do anything, you got to absolute focus on it. If I had a warehouse like I did in Chicago of $10 million worth of products, you truly can't provide a consultative approach with a customer that's got 2,000 devices from 10 different OEMs that's geographically dispersed. You've got to go in there and solve a solution, stop the madness. And we were absolutely focused on that. I think, the fact is, and I said this before, and Jake could attest to this, that, we had less than 500 customers in a 9-year period, generating close to $50 million. So those were all, enterprise accounts. So we saw a great opportunity. And but there's a lot of great businesses out there that weren't in managed print, and they were focused on their core business. And when we brought them into our platform, managed print was a menu offering that we offered to them. And not all 19 companies have jumped on, but the ones that have embraced it have seen a real material effect on their aftermarket, their profitability. I would also say that their the career path of the sales organization, and it has gained a ton of momentum. We did an exercise recently for a new banking relationship. We have a great banking relationship, we have, candidly, that we got done before all this chaos. And we showed all the enterprise accounts that we got over the last 2 years. And I think the number was 80% of the enterprise, blue chip customers that you'd recognize anywhere were won by the traditional copier companies, right? Not just the platform FlexPrint and or Flowtech. And I think it speaks volumes to the business model we've been out, and our ability to cross sell it, and our ability to sustain the SLAs. So we're excited about that.
So again, moving in and out of this, but on one hand, I love what you said, shut out the noise, because there are a lot of people out there that have a lot of opinions and they really don't amount to much other than maybe a distraction. But Jake, in my world, whenever I dealt with a private equity group and years ago with some VCs, some people are out there saying, well, the private equity people, they're going to get tired of this space, and if it's in the 5 to 10 year window, they're going to flip it and all that stuff. And listening to Frank and the outrageous growth that he's having right now, and you're on a path for 500 million. What would you say to those people? Hey, that's old school thinking. We're in this for the long haul. What do you tell people?
I mean, what I would say is that, when you're building a company, what you want to do is think about, what you can do to scale the business and improve the business over time. And, from my perspective, this is an industry that continues to be a very large fragmented industry. We have a management team that we have a lot of confidence in. And so, we want to continue to scale the business because, we've been doing it now for about 7 years, and if you look at the results, they've been pretty amazing, and we believe that we can continue to do that. I think that in these mature industries, kind of consolidation is inevitable. It's happened in many different industries, not just in the print industry. The reason that people do it is that they are able to diversify their revenue streams. They're able to sell kind of products into different geographies, sell different products into their customer base, and they're able to get kind of scaled kind of efficiency in terms of their P&L. And it's particularly of value in mature markets. And so I think that continues to be an opportunity here. And if you look at our business, this is not a business that has kind of stopped growing even with the pandemic. And so, the opportunities are there. I think now that the pandemic is hopefully behind us, I think people are now kind of more comfortable also moving on with life. There are a lot of companies that kind of stopped in their tracks during the pandemic because they didn't know what was going to happen.
Right.
And I think now the opportunity is to continue to invest and grow now that kind of people see what the world looks like kind of getting out the other side.
So along those lines, and you guys, Frank, kudos to you and your team. I mean, Corey's been with you from day one, if I'm not mistaken. So you've got a wonderful culture, great team behind you. How do you both see the rest of 23 and 24 as far as stable growth and so on? But I'm kind of curious also, with all of the so many people moving into IT services and those kinds of adjacent markets. So looking out this year and next year, do you see that in your future, or where do you see the industry going, Frank?
Well, I'll answer that, and then Jake, I'd love your opinion on that. I think 2023 is very clear to me. It's very clear. We're very focused, and again, I just take a step back and say, I'm not saying this as just I'm saying this the truth. We have, when you mention guys like Corey and guys like Jeff Wilson who helped me get the platform company off the ground, we have many people like that, and these entrepreneurs that stayed on and continue to be with us. And so many great people. One of the things that makes our company great is not only do we have a great engine, as Jake talked about, for 95%, client retention, but Michael, I've been around a long time. I have the best engine ever, across the country, the best engine ever for organic growth and taking down new logos, and it's really exciting. So 2023 is really clear. We're going to grow the business by double digits. I said we're up 18%. We're going to execute on our business plan, and by the time New Year's Eve comes, we're going to be a $450 million company, period, the end, with great SLAs to our customers, and we're going to be profitable, very profitable, with very little debt for the EBITDA we have. And the plan for next year is to continue to do the same thing. Number one, we're going to focus on our most prized possession, our employees. Period, the end. We are who we are because we've got great employees across the country. And I've said that before, I live that every day. And as we look into, I'm a brilliance in the basics type of guy, right? We've got, Jake said, we have north of 27,000 customers. We could sell them a lot of stuff. Right now, we're getting a lot of organic growth through cross-selling managed print. We've got a few companies that are required that have real material managed IT businesses, but it's small. I mean, we're not making investments in that today because I believe the opportunity for us is everything I just mentioned. And in 2024, we'll continue to look at our business and how can we grow, provide opportunity, for our employees, be very profitable with minimum debt, and scale this business. And that's the plan. I was talking to somebody today, actually Terry Dixon today, and we were talking about how much we still love the business, and we both, the enthusiasm we have for it. And Terry worked for me in Chicago years ago, but that's the way I feel about it. And I'm still a young guy at 58. I think there's so much runway. So that's the plan. And Jake and I, Oval's been just like an ideal partner for us, right? And certainly, we brought him in because we couldn't do what we did, and they provided the experience and the guidance and the mentoring, and everything hasn't been rosy. There's been a lot of, Jake's from New York, so we've had a couple headbutts, and the other guy's from Philadelphia. He's great, but I really feel fortunate, and I think the future is, as long as hey, here's the key. I'm not an Ivy Tower type of guy. I'm going from here to one of the offices I'm out in the field with the team. As long as we, don't look at the press clippings, we continue to work really hard every day and learn. And that's the plan, man. Nothing secret, nothing sexy, but we're going to execute, man.
I love it. I love it. I love that you've got that excitement. You're still there and banging it out there, getting out in the field. And so, Jake, if you could summarize your feelings about maybe more from an investor perspective, not just, Flex, but what should the industry be looking at, on a broader perspective?
I think that companies are trying to figure out how to kind of mine the value of their customer base, right? And so I think that a lot of companies are trying to do IT because they see it as a growth area where they can try to take advantage of some of the customer relationships they've built. FlexPrint has this kind of unique managed print services engine, which is, generally I would say unique in the market. And so it's able to sell that in addition to the fact that that business is kind of a nice growing business on its own. It's able to sell that into kind of markets where maybe the core markets are not growing as quickly. And so what I would say is that we and everyone else are going to always think about what we can do to take advantage of this infrastructure we have. The infrastructure is, the people that Frank mentioned. It's the sales infrastructure, it's the customer service infrastructure, and it's the customers. And so we're going to continue to work through to scale the business by taking advantage of all of those. And and that's what I think everyone in the industry should be doing. In some companies, that means that maybe IT is the best kind of cross-sell opportunity. In some companies, it might be managed print services. In other companies, it might be, spring water or, office supplies or, kind of whatever some, companies think is best for them. But I think that the reality is when we think about it, what we're trying to do is find ways to kind of stack growth on the business, right? And that's what every company should do. Find ways to stack growth, whether that's just because you're going to increase market share in your core business, or that's because you're going to be able to sell other products into your customer base, or whether you're going to be able to, grow your geography. You have to keep finding ways to grow so that you can improve your profitability. Maybe you're going to just try to leverage your back office, right? And by putting more kind of revenue and gross profit through your back office, you're going to grow your bottom line profitability significantly. I think all of the companies have to continue to strive to do that, and I think that there are different ways to skin the cat, in terms of driving that growth. And we've been fortunate enough to be successful growing in kind of a core business that Frank started in 2005 and that has been around for longer than that. And so I think we're going to continue to do that. And, over time, we'll continue to find ways to grow the business. Some of that's going to be through acquisition. Some of it's going to be selling other products to our customer base. Some of it is is just going to be through getting market share in the industry.
So let's we're winding down here on time a little bit. I want to get a little personal information from you. So, and all of what you said, I think is awesome. Our mission, I'm 72 years old. I thought I was going to retire and go to Italy for a couple of years there, Frank. Then COVID hit, and my wife basically said, go do something. So it started Stramelio Consulting, and then here I am. But, we're having fun, and, I'm excited about the business, even at my age. I'm looking around thinking these next few years are going to be awesome. So when Frank, when you look back on your career, I should say, a couple of quick questions. Who was your catalyst? I mean, who was your hero? Who said, Frank, go do this? Who was your mentor? When who's that one guy or two guys or gals that
Well,
kicked you
I
in?
mean, I think I would tell you that early on, my brother, God rest his soul. I mean, we come from a big family. We didn't realize we were poor, but my brother went out at an early age, and he's an entrepreneur, and he built businesses. And 10 years older than me, I remember seeing how hard he worked. I love my siblings, but compared to them, they work regular jobs. This guy works, so he, he just gave me the vision that if you want to do something, you don't need to go to Harvard. You need to go out there and work. And then I will tell you, when I do my daily affirmations, which I do every day, I think of all the people that came in my life from the time I was salesman for 4 years, and all the companies I've built and sold until today. There's so many people that, the things you remember from all of them. I could see their faces and see their names, but they just impact you. And that, it's so many of them. I mean, certainly I talk about Tom Johnson because I was a kid when I sold my businesses, and then he had it all. But there's so many guys and girls and people that I met, and that's what worries me today about the people not coming into the office. I have no doubt that they're working really hard, but I wouldn't be here today. I wouldn't be who I am if I didn't meet all these people and learn from them, in a car ride, in the office, after work. So I'm grateful. I'm grateful I grew up when I did, and I'm grateful I went through all those struggles. And you know what? I'm even grateful for the struggle I went through during COVID, and all of us did. All of us did, and delivered because you either quit or you get a lot better.
Yeah, great message. And you did come from a big family, right? 7 brothers and sisters, and
Yeah, I'm number 7 of 8, and yeah, so.
well, that's a great story. And Jake, not that I want you to name names, but is there that one person that
Y-
kind of did like Frank's brother?
It's funny because it's a little bit of a similar story. Like my parents were immigrants. They came to the United States with nothing. You know, we kind of had a very modest, background, and my parents started up a business because they wanted to be able to buy a house, and so they started up a business in the house. And I grew up inside a house where they were kind of conducting business, and we lived upstairs, and the business was started and run on the first floor, and so it was a great experience. They worked really hard every day. Their business was open from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. every day. They worked on weekends, and they were very successful. They started from nothing, and they were very successful. And so that motivated me to do the same.
It's interesting. The 3 of us are basically the sons of immigrants, right? And Frank, did you grow up in Berwyn or Chicago?
Well, Berwyn is Chicago. We consider it Chicago. It's 9 miles away. It's got alleys, but I grew up in 1846 Gunderson Avenue in Berwyn, and I learned a lot in the alleys, man.
Well, see, that's funny because I grew up on Taylor and Halstead, then ultimately moved out. So Chicago people are very, very literal about Chicago, right? But Elmwood Park and Berwyn are good. So let's close out a little bit. Obviously, I know we're Chicago people, and well, at least Frank and I. and we have long memories when it comes to sports. I still have my, my 86 jersey, my 1986 Super Bowl jerseys hanging up. I don't even think there's a big football team after 86, right? Walter Payton, all those guys. But anyway, so I know that when I look at Chicago sports, it's Michael Jordan and the '86 Bears, right? So what about you, Frank? Do you have any favorites, Cubs or Sox?
Yeah, well, I'm still a Chicago sports. It's where my heart's at. I think of, that Chicago's at the end of the day, Chicago's a Bear town, right? So I'm a
Yeah,
Bears
yeah.
guy. But I was fortunate where, certainly I was a kid when they won the Super Bowl. But I was around. And speaking of my brother, we went to all the finals with Jordan. I mean, what a blessing was that?
Yeah.
And then we're big hockey fans, my wife and I, and we went to the last three cups and followed the cups, and those were unbelievable times. I mean, to me, there's nothing like playoff hockey. And then the Cubbies. I mean, I'm a Cubby fan, and 2016, it was just like amazing. So.
All right, so Jake, you're New York, so as sad as it is for me to say, who are your favorite New York teams?
So I'm a big sports fan too. I'm a Mets fan and a Knicks and Giants fan. Actually, kind of see it behind me, but you can see it half in the picture. But there's an artist's picture of Gary Carter celebrating
Oh, yeah.
running to Jesse Orosco when the Mets won the 1986 World Series. And so
Yeah,
I'm a
well, I
big
don't
fan.
know if I'm glad you're a Mets fan, but I really don't like them. So,
I'm sure you know. Yeah.
so- hey, final question, guys, and any comments you want to make, but I can't leave this without asking you, Frank, what's your favorite Sinatra song?
I probably listen to it, there's a million of them, but I listen
Yeah.
to it every day. And it's called That's Life. I love that song. That's life because that's life. Listen to that. If you're feeling love, listen to that tune, man. I mean, life's a journey, baby.
Yeah, and that's my favorite. I mean, there's the national anthem, My Way, you have to always give respect to, but this show is named after That's Life, next week's Life, right? So I kind of stole that from Frank. So that's a good pick. How about you, Jake?
New York, New York.
Of course.
That's bullshit, Jake.
Yeah, that's an easy take. So I
Yeah.
did learn something just a few days ago that apparently the only time Frank Sinatra is singing New York, New York is when the Yankees win.
Yeah.
And if they lose, they have like the second team come in, Liza Minnelli, and she sings it.
Yeah. That's funny. That's funny.
Anyway, guys, if you have one final message, our mission is to help float all boats, right? Try and help this industry go and grow. Frank, if you wanted to impart one bit of wisdom to the industry, what would you say?
Hi, I guess my bit of wisdom is what I follow is turn off the noise, hey, listen, in every business, I said this during COVID, in every business, I mean, every time there was companies that in horrific times were doing tremendous. Why are they doing tremendous? And we're, in our business, there's companies, a lot of great companies like Flex that are performing tremendously. Why is that? And, there's great opportunities in the business, and we look at it. Everyone can have their own opinion. God bless. We look at it from our lens. So I believe that if the best of the best are performing at high levels, why can't everybody?
Awesome. Love the message. Jake, you can take us home.
Yeah, I mean, what I would say is that it's true in all of our businesses. Take care of your employees and customers, and they're going to tell you where to go. They're going to tell you how to continue to build your business. If you do a good job of taking care of your customers and employees, you can be very successful.
Well, great way to end, gentlemen. And, on behalf of Hero and all of the guys that put this on together, we thank you very, very much. I think the information you shared is compelling. It's certainly going to help a lot of smaller dealers and bigger dealers. We need to get younger people in the business, but I think what you just shared is going to be awesome and well received. And if I can close with a big, big, big thank you, Frank, this is the longest I've seen you sit in one place in 15 years, so thank you very much. So guys, have a great day, and I'll look forward to talking with you soon. So thanks, gentlemen.
Thanks, Michael. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Really
You got
appreciate
it.
it. Thanks.